This is Gabe Blythe. Broadcasting on all channels. Oh man. I just ran here. Oh, I'm bleeding. Oh man, I gotta get something to patch that up. Well, that's covered for now. His nails were they're just so... What happened? Okay. Start from the beginning. Okay. So remember how I said I was going looking for you? Maybe not you exactly, like maybe people who are stuck inside. I've been knocking on doors, walking in, just helping myself inside. Most of the time, place is empty, or I'll just see one or two of the others. Nothing super strange, it's all good. When I see one of the others, I tend to just close the door. Then I just mark it with some chalk or something, so I know, hey, future Gabe, this is where people are. So, in the future, if I know how to fix all of this, I can come back and know where those people are. Great thinking, Gabe. Thanks. Okay. So, I go into one house, and it smells bad. Rancid, almost. As if you left your icebox open for months. Whatever's in there has cultured its own life, and its currency is the potent smells it's generating. I walked in and I'm immediately hit by this, and I just gag. I cover my face, I go inside, and I hear this growling. And I've heard others making noise before, but nothing so... Damn. Not violent. But, like it had intent. You know? So I'm looking around, and I can't find the source of the growling. So, from the front door, you can see kind of a short hallway to a single room, and just off of the front door of the flat, you can see a couch and whatnot for entertaining, and slightly behind the front door is the kitchen, kind of to the left. But no signs of life. Closet is open, the bedroom is empty, clothes everywhere, all amassed in a huge pile, and I decide, it's always been okay so far. Why won't it now? I walk in a bit, head into the kitchen, and sure enough, the icebox is open. But not just open, it looks like someone tried to turn it over. Everything inside was just tossed onto the floor, staining that cheap linoleum with dried blood of meat, rotted vegetables, melted ice cream. Otherwise, the kitchen looked normal. A knife block with knives. One of those photo collages with 3 generations of people in Royal Army garb with, what are they called? I don't know, those patches of each of their groups. A few dishes in the sink, as if, like, you know, someone's like, I don't care right now. I'll get to it tomorrow. Or, you know, I'll let them soak overnight. And then the night turns into almost a week later. It's not great, but we all do it. And I remember looking at it, the mundaneness of our lives. You know, the thinking about, did this person have a roommate? Did they argue over this? Was this something that they constantly fought over? Dishes in the sink again? Or was this one of those habits you just kind of have to roll your eyes and say, I love you anyways. Because at times, partnership is a series of compromises. Not that I would really know. But as I turned to go back looking around, I noticed the growling had stopped. It was one of those, you got so used to it, but it was so subtle, you didn't know it stopped. And I was thinking to myself, when did it stop? How long have I been sitting in silence? Because I thought everything was okay. Where did the growling go? I remember feeling that line between the cheap linoleum and that carpet. That aluminum divider thing. Under my feet. And I was trying to think, what is it called? It's gotta have a name. And even when I think I'm about to die, I can't help but be distracted. Just a complete idiot, Gabe. I decided to slowly, and I mean slowly, head out. Leave the flat, and mark it as it is. I don't know, do not enter or something, on fear of being poisoned by natural causes of meat expiration. Then I felt these cold, dry hands grasp my arm and shoulder and throw me back into the kitchen. I never screamed so loud in my life. And there he was, one of the others. His lips rotted back, and I could see his gums were black, and his eyes as if they haven't blinked since I've been alone. And he was just wearing these Royal Army fatigues and random bits of just dirty clothes stuck to him. He must have been hiding in the pile of clothes. No. Not hiding. Hibernating? Sleeping? What's that thing that snakes do that's not hibernating? Whatever. He keeps his grip on me, and he's just tossing me around like I'm some sort of rag doll. And I let him. I don't know how to fight back. And on one hand, I don't want to hurt this person that might still be in there. And on the other hand, I'm getting real close to the pile of toxic sludge on the floor, and I don't know if I would get sick from it. Besides, what if? Frank, Gabe, it sounds insensitive. But what if it is like the movies? What if he bites me, and you lose me? I gotta stand out. I can't let him get me. And I think I had the same thought as I get thrown around this small dining area in the flat, and I hit the table, and it collapses. Just some cheap fold-out thing. When I hit the ground, I look at his hands. His nails. His hands were just shriveled up, but his nails were yellow and cracked, with black gunk under his nail. And I could see his veins jutting from underneath his skin like a map of mountains and valleys. And his hands just grabbing at me. And I was stunned, sitting there in horror. I bit my cheek, or when I was thrown around, something happened because I started tasting blood. And he growled, and this time it had violence behind it. Like he wanted to pull something from me, as if his growl was enough to tell me everything he wanted. That was enough for my brain to finally shut down. Just shut up for once in my entire life, and I can only remember one other time when my brain did this. So I stood up, and I grabbed the first thing that I could. It was a knife from the knife block. This other person, he charged at me. He started pushing me into the pile of debris behind me as I stood up, the broken table and the clothes, and into the counter, and I wasn't going to let him slide me into the garbage, and I wasn't going to let me be taken from you. You still might need me. So he tries to grab me again, howling loudly, and I let him grab my arm, and I feel his nails dig into my skin. Not enough to break, but enough that it still leaves marks like jagged crescent moons. I remember planting my feet and pushing with my forearm into his chest, and he weighed almost nothing. And I grabbed the knife, and here's where it gets gross. I was about to stab him, again, with my brain just on autopilot. But the entire time, he's fighting me. We twist and we turn, and I feel his weight pull away from me. And he slipped on the food on the floor, and his head hit the corner of the counter. And it was just the loudest thwack I have ever heard. It just makes me sick thinking about it. But it still wasn't over. He hit his head on the counter, and with a thud, he hits the ground. And I just see his eyes go wide, as if he recognizes what's happening. And instead of blood, black ooze, ichor, starts moving like molasses, just so slow. This person here, he's breathing with this rage, and then he stops as he sees that not blood starting to pool around his head, and he breathes raggedly. His wide eyes then drifted up to me. I don't know, but his eyes could have been saying anything. Could have been a pleading thought, a mercy, but from where I stood, it looked like sympathy. And we looked at each other until his breathing stopped. And I stood there in more silence than I ever care to hear. And then my brain just kicked back on. It's funny. Even though everything was just disgusting in front of me, this dead person, a pile of spoiled food, I still had to run to the bathroom to throw up. The need to throw up in a toilet and not just turn ever so slightly away from it. I don't know. Once that was done, I ran straight here. I have so much adrenaline. I feel terrified and terrible. And I'm gonna have a lot to process with this one. What about this guy made him violent? He looked like he'd been... how to say it? Like he had been affected since before this even began. And like, why was he so strong? He was nothing but skin and bone. Knights! I know, I'm just cursing a lot, but knights! Ah! I had to tell someone. Sorry. This is all just a lot. So... Stadium? Tomorrow, midday to sundown. I'll be listening for a reply. King and country, I guess. I don't know. Fuck!